Ladies and gentlemen, the 37th BEYA STEM Conference, co-hosted by Lockheed Martin Corporation, the Council of Engineering Deans of the Historically Black Colleges and Universities, and U.S. Black Engineer and Information Technology magazine, and sponsored by Actilent, Jacobs, and Raytheon Technologies, welcomes you to an evening with BEYA's leading voices. Now, let's meet our hosts. A versatile talent with a velvet voice, Angela Stribling has produced and hosted many national awareness campaigns and is one of the country's most sought-after personalities. Dr. Victor McCrary is the Vice President for Research and Professor of Chemistry at the University of District of Columbia. He has authored and co-authored over 60 technical papers and co-edited 2 books. Dr. McCrary was appointed by President Barack Obama to the National Science Board in 2016. Please give a warm welcome to Angela Stribling and Victor McCrary.
Wow. I love that introduction. Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for an evening with BEYA's leading voices. Here we are in person. I'm so excited just to see everyone kicking off the 37th BEYA Conference. Are we excited?
Hey.
Are we? Yes. They look excited.
They look excited.
Yes,
All right, they're excited.
do.
Okay. Not too much alcohol, a little caffeine. You know, before we dive into tonight's program, here is a word from Tammy Michelle Turner, Director of Global Service Technical Operation, Immunoassay, and Clinical Chemistry at Abbott Laboratories. Tammy, would you please come on up?
How's everybody doing today? I am so excited to be here. This is actually my first BEYA conference, and it is an honor and a privilege to actually get to speak and to get an award. So thanks for the invite. The purpose of my visit today is for a couple of reasons. I'd like to talk to you about what I do for Abbott and also to give you a global overview of the company. My title is this very long title, and people always ask, what does that mean? I am the Director of Global Service Technical Operations, supporting immunology and clinical chemistry. So what does that mean for us? What that means is that my team works for the core lab of Abbott, and we support the development of immunology and chemistry analyzers that run blood testing. In addition to supporting the development of it and working with research and development, we provide level 4 technical support to the entire globe of engineers and application specialists around the world. So at any given moment, I could put my team on a plane to Japan or China or Germany, and they need to be able to go. It has been a privilege to work with Abbott for the last 18 years. And I've been to every country around the world and almost every continent on this planet. If we look at Abbott at a glance and we think about what does Abbott mean to us, Abbott has over 115,000 employees, and we have over 130 years in the business. Our business spans across 160 countries, and in 2021, we had $43.1 billion in sales. We have many trusted projects and many products. We have the Freestyle Libre, we have the MitraClip, Similac, Alinity, which is the product for immunology and chemistry that my team supports, Ensure, ID Now, Pedialyte, and many other trusted products. The fundamental purpose of Abbott as a company is to help people live fuller, healthier lives, maximizing their potential at all ages and stages of life. And we do this through our multiple businesses. And this is just a list of the businesses. I won't go through every one of them in detail, but we have our cardiovascular care, diabetes care, diagnostics, which is where my team resides, the neuromodulation care, nutrition, and of course our medicines. I can say personally that my family members have benefited from every one of these Abbott businesses, including myself. We are also the market leader in every one of our businesses. So if we look at cardiovascular, for example, we're the leader in stents. We're the leader in remote heart failure monitoring, heart pumps as well. Neuromodulation, we lead in chronic pain devices. And in nutrition, we have our adult retail nutrition as well as our pediatric nutrition. So again, this supports all ages and all times in life. Diabetes care, right? We're also able to provide continuous support to anyone where they need to monitor their glucose for 14 days and without the painful sticks. Diagnostics is where my team resides, and we have COVID-19 testing, which we were well known for and launched in a very short time frame during the COVID outbreak. We have point of care testing, and then the blood and plasma screening, which is what I live for and do every day. And then lastly, we have medicines. And with our medicines, we are the leader in pancreatic enzyme deficiency treatment, progesterone hormone therapy, and vertigo treatment. It is a phenomenal company to work for. If any of you guys are interested while I'm here for the next 3 days and finding out more about Abbott, please feel free to reach out to me. It's been a privilege speaking to you guys, and thank you for taking the time out with me today.
That was a lot. I had no idea they had so many products.
Oh, my, yeah, I tell you, wow.
Thank you
I'm probably even using half of them.
Could be.
So, yeah.
You don't have to tell us, Dr. McCrary. Thank you, Mrs. Turner. Tonight, we'll hear from 5 incredible speakers who will all discuss the challenges, changes, and advancements their respective organizations are working through.
Each speaker will present an 8-minute tech talk.
Yeah.
These leading voices will share stories and highlight information that is shaping our world today. Most importantly, they are laying the groundwork for innovative environments that allow you, particularly our folks from VMI,
Yes.
to become everything you are. Hey, stand up, come on.
The youth. Very nice to have you.
So, are we ready for our first marquee event, Angela?
We are. Dr. James Moore is the Assistant Director of the STEM Ed Directorate at the National Science Foundation and has served on Ohio State University's faculty since 2002. He's nationally recognized for his research and educational advocacy for African American males, with a research agenda focused on school counseling, gifted education, urban education, higher education, multicultural education, counseling, and STEM education. He is the first executive director for the Todd Anthony Bell National Resource Center on the African American Male and is the inaugural EHE Distinguished Professor of Urban Education at Ohio State University. Dr. Moore has co-edited and co-authored 7 books. He's given you some competition. Please give him a warm welcome.
Good evening. Life on the margins is an unpleasant reality. Too many Americans in this country are not afforded a quality education, nevertheless an opportunity to engage and be inspired for STEM opportunities and experiences. Unfortunately, this takes me back down memory lane, and some would say that I'm a son of the South. I'm going to say that again, a son of the South. I came from a community where the love was sound, unconditional, and never ending. This was the parallel of the HBCU where I attended, called Delaware State University, a past to honor and a future to ensure. All that I am, that I hope to be, is shaped by my family. And so in my world, it's not about giving back, it's about paying forward. HBCUs are a driver for reaching the missing millions in STEM. And what do I mean by that? There are too many Americans who have not been cultivated for STEM opportunities. We see educational malpractice all throughout the United States. But HBCUs have served as a driver, as a bridge for creating opportunity. No matter what institution that you refer to or you know of, they have a rich and storied history of reaching individuals. See, here in my role, I'm on loan at the National Science Foundation. We have 3 priorities, but I don't have enough time to talk about all of them. But the one that is most salient and dear to my heart, that connects to my humble beginnings, is inspiring the missing millions. So, too many of our young people, they foreclose on STEM opportunities because they haven't been exposed to it. It's hard to be interested in something if you've never been exposed to it. According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, there are over 12,000 jobs. And probably by the time you leave this room, some of them won't even be in existence. And we're still, in some of our education places in rural and urban America, in Delta regions, in Appalachia, or perhaps places where in the state of Ohio, like Youngstown, Ohio, or Gary, Indiana, where work has disappeared. We know talent exists everywhere, but we know that opportunity doesn't. HBCU bridge the gaps from the malpractice that some of our young people are experiencing in their K-12 educational experiences. But it's important to understand the importance of interest. Nothing can happen if we don't catalyze or inspire individuals to understand all the possibilities that are available to them in STEM. See, there's a long body of knowledge about interest. We know how to get young people interested, but it's hard to sustain interest. I bet if I did a polling in here and I asked how many of you thought you were going to med school and then you met organic chemistry and it changed you and then you change your major. How do we sustain your interest, which is very important. Preparation is another thing that we know that many of our HBCU take young people where they are. They meet them where they are. Unlike in some institutions, they say if you're not here, you don't belong here. A lot of magical things have happened at HBCUs that young people have achieved their dreams and aspirations because they had mentors. They walked the hollow grounds where people who came before them. And somehow it had medicinal power. And I can bear witness to that. The other one is experiences. We need experiences indicative of the STEM trajectory that is before them so they can be a part of the new frontier. See, I don't want to just get students of color or underrepresented students in STEM. I want them to be a part of the new frontier. Because if we don't get them a part of the new frontier, we'll have another disparity and we'll be talking about it again. It's important that we have connections. Academic achievement is highly correlated with the relationship that the student has with his or her professor. But it's also highly correlated with the number of contact hours. If you don't like your professor, it's probably higher likely that you won't do well in that class. The other one is opportunities. See, there's an array of opportunities today. Microelectronics, advanced manufacturing, quantum, broadband, et cetera, et cetera. In America, we're talking about these priority STEM areas. But guess what? No matter whether you put the opportunities in front of them, but if they don't have the interest, the preparation, the connections, it's a high probability you won't even be able to access the opportunities. But first, we need to connect them, in HBCUs or the places. They are incubators. They're not only incubators, they have an apparatus. I think you heard in my remarks that I run a center that focuses on African-American males. I stole everything from Morehouse. And now we do better than Morehouse. Like most of the institutions, we stole everything from you because HBCUs had a model. It was a model that we all understood. They took the crumbs of the universe and made people like James Moore today. At NSF, creating opportunities everywhere is a major of importance to us. We want to democratize STEM. HBCUs have shown us the way. You heard me say the motto at Delaware State, a past to honor and a future to ensure. It's something that is in my being, that is infectious, so infectious that I hope that it rubs off on people in this room. Let me tell you about talent. It has a rich, storied history of producing talent in spite of maybe not always having the resources. But it's a new day that we need to create for individuals. It's no longer for us to celebrate exceptionalism. It's important for us to provide the foundation because it's hard for this country to compete if we continue to leave talent behind. I like to celebrate our beloved sister, Dr. Thompson, the first HBCU recipient to get that one of the highest awards for an early career scholar, the Allen T. Waterman Award. This is an example of inspiring. Now, they have someone that's eminent on that campus like many other faculty on there. They got their doctors from the same places we got ours. I close on this. HBCUs are fine institutions, and I'm from South Carolina. And I believe one of the greatest educators of the 20th century is Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, born in the same county with my grandmother. And he says this: whatever you do it so good that no woman, dead, alive, or yet to be born, can do it better. That's the level of excellence that we must strive for to reach the missing millions. Thank you.
So, Dr. Moore, before you leave the stage, we have a question that has come from our audience. Thank you all for participating. And here's what it is.
Yes, sir.
If we look at the current statistics of the missing millions, 6% Latinos, 4% blacks, how do we, and what is the role of the National Science Foundation to move those numbers to population parity?
Wow. It's going to take a lot of effort, but HBCUs are somewhere in the mix. See, because if you look at diversity, when you look at institutions who have a history of working behind the 8 ball and still achieving in spite of, HBCUs can show us the way. When I think about HBCUs, when you talk about NSF, we need to continue to create programs that HBCUs and other institutions that are very similar to can utilize. For example, one of the things I'm very proud of in the recent legislation, CHIPS and Science legislation, is we have a program called STEM, Scholarships in Science and Technology and Engineering and Mathematics. We know that college tuition goes up higher than inflation every year. College education is not only going to be hard for low-income families, it's going to be hard for even middle-income families. And some of the things that we're doing, we increase for Pell-eligible students on this scholarship from up to $10,000 to $15,000. For graduate students, up to $20,000 to $25,000. Every HBCU should have one of these grants. But let me tell you, there's a 100% chance you can't get a grant if you don't apply. So you have to apply. Not only that, what are we doing? It's important for us to think about individuals who may not be in motion to go to college right now. We can't forget about our cousins or that fake cousin or that relative that we grew up with who might be in a delayed state right now and may not be in college. We have a program called Advanced Technology Education. These are individuals, we like to say, we need to meet people where they are. Wherever you are in the continuum, you should have an opportunity to the American dream. And we're creating those kind of opportunities. We got a new program called Excellent, experiential learning for emerging and novel technologies. Whether you have a STEM degree or you don't have a STEM degree, whether you have a high school diploma or whether you went to Yale or got your diploma in the mail, you can go for this program because we believe it's important to have experiential experiences, whether you're in high school or whether you're in a community college, whether you're in a four-year college, or whether you just want to retool and change your lot in life. NSF is building that kind of platform, and we're ready to receive proposals. As I said earlier, NSF does two things. We fund ideas and we fund people. There's ideas in this room, and there's an abundance of people. We look forward to receiving proposals from you all. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Moore. So to get you revved up for our award ceremonies, make sure you go to blackengineer.com to learn all about our awardees. Remember that, blackengineer.com. I know you all got your phones out right now. Look at it so you don't forget. Okay. Our next speaker is a seasoned veteran in the Department of Defense and a leader in the field of basic research. As the director of the Air Force Office of Scientific Research, or as we all finally know, AFOSR, she manages a global investment portfolio of $500 million annually. Let me say that again. $500 million annually, distributed among academic institutions, industry-based contracts, and internal research efforts. With over 36 years of experience, she has held a variety of leadership positions and has made significant contributions to numerous projects ranging from the F-22 and the C-17 to the Joint Strike Fighter and airborne laser. Dr. Welsh's experience and dedication to her field have earned her recognition, including two, not one, but two Rising Star Awards from the Missile Defense Agency and Engineer of the Year from the Air Force. On top of her professional achievements, she also shares her knowledge as a part-time professor at the University of Alabama, Huntsville. Please, let's welcome Dr. Sherry Welsh.
So Dr. McCrary really emphasized seasoned a little bit too much there for me, but that's okay. And then I don't know who put me in the lineup behind Dr. Moore, but I'll be having a conversation with somebody over there later. Very happy to be here tonight. This is a very impactful conference, is it not? It's a very impactful conference. We need more events like this. We need more venues like this so that we can celebrate and shine a light on all the wonderful diversity that we have in STEM across this nation, right? So that's why this conference is so impactful. So the title of my talk, and we can go ahead and flip to the next slide. The title of my talk is Flooding the United States with Diverse STEM Talent. So the message here is we need you. We need you in government positions, we need you in academia, and we need you in industry. I work for the government, so I really want you to come work for the government, but we need you. So if you take nothing else from this talk today, please take away this. We must, and by we, I mean the whole of government, academia, and industry, we must flood the United States with diverse STEM talent. Not just STEM talent, diverse STEM talent. So then the next question is why? Hopefully we shouldn't have to ask that question, but as we continue to sit around the tables at work, it's clear that we need to keep talking about this, right? So here's why we need, let's explore it a little bit. Here's why we need diverse STEM talent. The nation today is very challenged. Unprecedented challenges we are facing today in the nation. Some that we have faced in the past, and we are facing again, but the environment is very, very different, much more complex, right? So as an example, We have competition for our seat as the #1 world leader. They are on a 100-year plan, and they are right on track. And I don't know about you, but that makes me a little nervous. The second challenge, there's many, but 3 pop in at the top of my head. Number 2 is the space domain. So yes, space has been a domain for decades, but now we're not the only ones utilizing it. Lots of countries, and it's a very contested domain, a contested environment. So we have that challenge. The other challenge is the environment itself. Global warming, however you think we got there, that is changing how we operate in the environment in the military. So we have these big challenges. So again, diverse STEM talent flooding the U.S. So we have these problems and challenges across the nation. This is not just simple solution, solving problems. This requires, and I hope some of you are Marvel fans, this requires Stark Industries level kind of solutions, right? How do you get Stark level industries kind of game-changing solutions? Diversity sitting at the table solving the problems. That's how we get those kind of solutions. So it's imperative, right? I'm going to talk about actions we can all take. I'll talk a little bit about some actions that the Air Force Research Lab is taking across the lab. So we're very dedicated to this, STEM and building capacity and capitalizing on the excellence in HBCUs and minority serving institutions, right? We have lots of programs across the lab. Are we doing enough? No. I hope we never get to a point where we say, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're doing enough. So we are very passionate about this subject. We have some of the most passionate, I've worked in, as Vic mentioned, I have 36 plus years of experience. So I've worked in a lot of organizations, and I have to say the Air Force Research Lab has the most passionate people about this subject that I have ever met in my entire career. So it's really fun to work there. We have a wonderful, and I'll get the acronym wrong, I'm sure. We have a wonderful Minority Leaders Research Center program. Am I close? And they do so many wonderful things. And we have STEM programs all across the lab. I'm really excited about a new program that we're starting. So I've been in my current position almost 3 years. So the first couple of years, I spent talking to some of the presidents and VPs of research at the HBCUs and MSIs. And I wanted to ask them, I said, how are we doing? We issue grants to universities. That's how we do our mission. And they said, across all the services, it's really nice. You send us these onesie-twosie grants, but it's not truly building capacity in our schools. So I said, what will? And so we had conversations. So I brought all this back to my team, and my team came up with this wonderful idea. So we are piloting this year, and we'll stand up in FY24, an AFRL Basic Research National Science Portal program where we will issue grants and truly build capacity in these schools. And this program is only open to HBCUs and MSIs. So I'm super excited about that. They will also, representatives from those schools will also be on the team building the program. So it will not be just money for grants, for research. It will also be for them to hire administrative personnel in their schools, right? Because that's a real issue that they talk to me about. It will be purchasing equipment to build capacity in their laboratories so that they can raise the level of capacity in their research capabilities. So I'm really excited about that program. We're going to pilot it this year so we can get some money out the door early and get some lessons learned from that as we're in parallel building that program. So I wanted to talk to you about the intersection next of the intersection between innovation and diverse STEM talent. So that's what I have up on the board here. And if you notice, there are QR codes. So I hope you're clicking away with your phones on the QR codes. Those are our social media platforms across the Air Force Research Lab. And you can find out anything you need about all the programs that we have available just by following us on social media. But I wanted to give you this really great example, which I am now going to use my notes for because I don't want to get this wrong. So this is a really cool research project that happened to start in my directorate in AFOSR. And it is such a great example of bringing diversity to the table. So I don't know if you ever thought about reprogramming cells and math being two things that would go together, but they do. And we do a lot of multidisciplinary and cross-disciplinary research all the time. So this is one of our PIs in a university, Dr. Rajapaksa, and he developed stem cell control algorithms and tested them on his own tissue and his manager's tissue as well, which led to a really wonderful breakthrough. Healing wounds 5 times faster. That is a game changer. Can you imagine deployed forces having injuries, especially burn victims, who we lose a lot of our burn victims. So this would be something that you would spray on the wound or a patch, and it would heal the wound 5 times faster, saving lives. So not only great for the military, right? But this is going to be a global game changer. I wanted to just say real quick about this. It took lots of different kinds of money. We had OSD involved. We had DARPA who ponied up the money for this PI to actually start a company. We pulled in another small company. We had funding from the University of Michigan, Michigan State, the state of Michigan, our partners at NSF, and many others to pull this together and move this from basic research to technology development. So I just wanted to give you that last example. And thank you very much for your time tonight, and so happy to be here. Thank you.
Don't leave yet. That was brilliant. Dr. Sherry Welsh. So we get questions from the audience. So I have a question here. Is this example on your slide typical of having so many organizations and so many different kinds of funding to take basic research to technology development?
It is. It's very typical because the best way to get research to technology and get it into the hands of our airmen and guardians is to partner, right? Just with a couple of our speakers tonight, we met for the first time and we've already exchanged cards. We already have plans to partner on things. NSF wants to talk to us about the national science portals. So it's just wonderful. But to get after this and to keep our #1 world leader seat, we have to partner and co-fund and collaborate. That's the only way we're going to keep our #1 world seat.
That's wonderful.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Dr. Welsh. Well, you know what? You can keep track of all the BEYA activities and programs with the BEYA app. Do you have it? It's really simple. Visit your app store and search for Career Communications Group. Just download the app, published by VFairs, and open it. Just log in using your BEYA badge ID and email address. Really simple. All right, our next speaker, Mr. Craig Gravitz. Now, Craig is a licensed attorney who has served various roles in government, primarily in the Department of Defense. He's been a contracting officer, negotiating and awarding many high-dollar value, complex contracts. More recently, he designed and ran a rapid prototyping team that launched many capabilities, spanning from 3D modeling, cybersecurity, on-demand manufacturing, and novel R&D procurement approaches. Now he's designing and implementing ARPA-H's commercialization and transition strategy. That's a mouthful. Well, his team at ARPA-H is using the lessons learned from rapid prototyping, including application of lean launch, human-centered design, and agile capability deployment. Please welcome Mr. Craig Gravitz.
All right, everybody. Great to meet you. This is very exciting. So I'm going to actually start with the end, with my ask. It's to come work with us. Come make the world better. We need your talent. We also need your voice. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit of why that's so important. It might seem obvious, but I'm going to be really specific so you'll understand some of the approaches and mindset that we have. So if you look at this first slide, it talks about our mission: accelerate better health outcomes for everyone. I'm going to give you a story about my dad. So my dad, he was a blue-collar dude. He was a repairman, worked really hard his whole life, and about, I don't know, a year or two before the pandemic, he starts getting real tired. And he keeps going to his doctor, and he says, you know, I'm really feeling awful. And the guy's like, there's nothing wrong. So this goes on for a year. He's getting really just atrophying. Eventually, he has a heart attack. He survived. My dad's still around, so Dad, if you're watching, you know. But it was really interesting because you just realize that our system right now doesn't work. So when we talk about accelerating better outcomes for everyone, for me, I'm doing this for people like my dad. And I want all of you to imagine your family members and the people in your community. And when I ask you to come work for us, that's why, because you can make things better. Okay, so imagine if. This could actually not be teed up any better. So we have these sort of canned things, but Dr. Welsh actually had a great one, the wound healing. Very familiar with that program. So she talked about some of the work coming from DARPA. So our agency, the Advanced Research Project Agency for Health, is based on DARPA. The difference is DARPA's, the big D is for defense. We're for health. So where I come from before in DOD, our primary customer was the warfighter, people on the battlefield who needed those wounds. But imagine how that same technology could apply in all of your lives and all of the lives of your family members. That's why we're here. Okay, so I'm actually going to describe the ARPA model a little bit because it's actually very, very different than a typical science entity. So, typically science happens, there's a hypothesis, there's grants, all of these things. The ARPA model is based on the program manager. Program manager is a unique individual who's an expert in his or her field, and they have this burning passion to solve a particular problem. Maybe they're kind of mid-career, they've had some accolades, but they've reached a point where they see that their field just isn't working for people like my dad. And they want to come and they want to make a change. So if you come to ARPA-H and you're a program manager and you have this expertise, we actually give you a fairly substantial budget. It could be between $50 and $150 million. And you don't issue grants, you issue contracts. And what that means is you go to a company, maybe like Abbott, or other, a small startup, and you let that company kind of work on a really hard problem. And you, as the program manager, you're like the CEO, and you push these approaches forward. And you might have a couple shots on goal. That means you might have 10 performers that are all kind of maybe collaborating, maybe competing a little bit, but the outcome are things like that rapid wound healing. And so that's what we're trying to do here at ARPA-H. Okay, so a lot of times, people, they don't know how to contextualize all of these things. So we have 4 mission offices. This is how we like to bucket all of the things that we're doing. But frankly, all of these things are really related. So our first office, Health Science Futures. People say, hey, where's your office for cancer? Or where's your office for Alzheimer's or diabetes? We like to point to this office, this Health Science Futures office, and say, we don't just do one disease. We want to build a platform technology that could solve multiple diseases. Okay, so there's a second mission office that we have called Scalable Solutions. This is reaching everybody quickly. And reach, I like to think of this as the reach office. So this really has 2 components. One is manufacturing technology. So think about, if you remember back towards the pandemic a couple years ago when everyone's kind of, hey, when am I going to get my vaccine? The problem is that we didn't have the manufacturing capacity to get things to everyone where they were. And we're all in metropolitan areas, most of us. Imagine people who were in a rural area, how much harder it was to get to them. it's our job as ARPA-H to make sure that we reach everyone, everywhere. So it's reach in terms of manufacturing, but then reach in terms of, maybe understanding that particular technologies, let me actually give you an example of this. I hear a lot of pitches from people who, want to try to change the world, and oftentimes it's these great digital health solutions. And they go through this whole pitch to me, and they're trying to describe this, and I'll turn to them and I'll say, well, what about rural areas that don't have internet access? How is your digital technology going to work there? The Scalable Solutions Office that goes to solve those sorts of problems. Proactive health. That office goes to making people healthier longer. Think of that more as increasing health span instead of lifespan. And then finally, resilient systems. This is more about building a resilient infrastructure so that when something like the pandemic happens, instead of things kind of breaking and us having to be locked down and things getting worse, you get better. And there are many examples, primarily in defense, where you can build resilient systems and that happens. And we're looking to bring that to the health space. Okay, so how do you do these things? Obviously, the science is incredibly important. But one of the insights that I had kind of building my rapid prototyping team and my long bio, sorry about that, was that it's not just the science, really. It's a whole community of people. So you have regulators. So for example, I mentioned this Health Science Futures Office. The FDA has certain predictable pathways for how you approve a new technology. And a lot of the greatest science doesn't really fit an existing pathway. So we're going to have to really work with the FDA, and they've been really wonderful about kind of involving us in their process. That's one example. An example that's really important to me are patient groups and people. How do you work and sort of bring in the perspective of the particular individual that you're solving for, not just sort of on high in your castle saying this is what's good for you. How do you actually talk to somebody where they are and really understand what their perspective is? Okay. So this is my office, and one of the great things about working in an ARPA is we like our acronyms, so you kind of work backwards sometimes. So I like to be warm and opening, so I was like, all right, come hang out on the patio. So I'm essentially the chief of commercialization and transition, and so really what my office does is it pulls all of those different pieces together that you saw on the prior slide into a sort of a coherent group, like an innovation insurgency where we all push the projects forward for the benefit of those programs. Okay, what is my call to action? All of you know incredibly smart people, and all of you have family members that need help. If you know somebody who fits the sort of phenotype of these program managers, please send them to us. We need them. We need people who have that same perspective like I have with my dad, who understand the community but also understand the science of how to push it forward. Also, we have general inquiries. For me, as I kind of help program managers build their solutions, I'm holding their kind of feet to the fire to make sure, have you talked to actually people? Is this not just science? Are you actually bringing in the people that you're trying to solve for? And that's the way they're going to accelerate better health outcomes for everybody. So thank you.
So, Mr. Gravitz, thank you for a great talk. We have a question from the audience. And that is, and I should give you some context, about almost 9 months ago, we formed an HBCU Space Council, a large number of HBCUs. We're expanding not only space, but a lot of other topics. Because this is about the HBCUs on this day and working together in our community. How can we work together more pointedly? One or two things.
Thank you, sir. You've already been incredibly helpful on this front. Our website, arpa-h.gov. Please go there. If you know program managers, there's a little portal that they can apply, but there's also, again, the general inquiries. We really do want to hear you. I actually just inherited all engagements for ARPA-H, so I will guarantee you that we look at that inbox and it will not be a black hole. So I want to hear from you. I want to help get the best talent on board to help us fix things for people, but I also want to hear from people generally to make sure that we're including your voices in the projects that we start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gravitz. Let's give him a round of applause. And he's looking to hire, so, I mean, please get out there. You know, you can watch, by the way, BEYA TV, for all of you staying here at the Gaylord on the hotel's channel 51, and catch up with the day's events and see interviews with members of this great BEYA community. I mean, we've been going on for 37 years. This is the place to get talent and connections right here, no other place. So now, let's get ready to hear from Miss Latrice Garrison. She is the Chief Operating Officer, COO, of the American Chemical Society, which some of you may not know has over 164,000 members and is the largest technical society in the world. After completing her bachelor's in chemistry at Howard University, go Bison! All right. I'm just an alum, but what can I say? And her MBA at Strait University, she received her certificate in diversity and inclusion from Cornell University. Ms. Garrison is a co-principal investigator on NSF Includes Alliance, Inclusive Graduate Education Network, where the ACS Bridge Project was established to increase the number of underrepresented students receiving PhDs in the chemical sciences. She is also a proud member of the National Organization for the Professional Advancement of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers, or NOBCHE. So, which will be celebrating their 50th year, so come to the conference, September 11th to the 15th. Let's please welcome her to BEYA 2023.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I am indeed honored to be here with you all this evening, and I hope everyone is enjoying the conference up until this point. Before I get started, how many people are either attending an HBCU or graduated from an HBCU? Let's see a show of hands. Excellent. That's what I like to see. All right, so I'm here to talk with you about the catalytic efforts to build a diverse STEM workforce. So Howard University, as Dr. McCrary mentioned, is my alma mater. Howard... HU. Howard gave me opportunity, many opportunities that one can find at an HBCU. And I'll just share with you a few. One was the opportunity to leave a rural county in Virginia, Dinwiddie County, to come to Washington, D.C. Excellent. To learn about how to live in a city. The opportunity to navigate the streets of a city, not having ridden in a taxi cab before, a metro, a bus, or any of that type of stuff. So really learning how to adapt. The opportunity to meet the man who became my husband, and now we're parents of 3 children. The opportunity to meet people like Dr. Victor McCrary, who came to Howard University to the chemistry department one day and said, hey, NOBCHE is having this conference in Atlantic City. I need to take 7 students with me. Who wants to go? You're going to work. We're going to pay your way, but you're going to work. I'll go. That's how I met Dr. McCrary. An HBCU provides individuals with opportunities to succeed and to be successful. Being at Howard gave me the opportunity to obtain an internship at the American Chemical Society. So yes, I've been there since I was an undergrad, started as an intern and continued to work my way through the organization. HBCUs are the place to be. They are bridging the gap for many individuals and allowing all of us to be successful. As I think about the American Chemical Society as an organization, the world's largest scientific society, I think about our core values. Specifically, I look at the last one, diversity, equity, inclusion, and respect. This core value was added recently to our strategic plan, but what stands out for me are the words inclusion and respect. As people of color, as women, as people from various backgrounds, rural communities, and the like, diversity is huge, and we all know that. But how do we ensure that we're going to be inclusive? And we're going to respect differing opinions. We're going to respect all the voices that are in the room. This, to me, is what brings about diversity. This is what's going to allow us to be successful as a country and as a world when we think about being inclusive and to respect everyone that you come into contact with. I didn't say agree with. I said respect, because those are 2 different things that we have to really work toward as a human race. The STEM workforce is dynamic. It's full of a global community. There's an academic community. There's industry, there's associations like the American Chemical Society. When you put all that together, you have what I like to call the sweet spot. Our sweet spot is enhanced by all of the diverse talent, the diverse thinking, the diverse backgrounds that come together while we're working to ensure that we have a diverse STEM workforce. So I encourage each of us to think about that total ecosystem and how do we work together to make the STEM workforce as dynamic as it can be in the future. Partnerships are extremely important. I'm pleased to say that the American Chemical Society is able to partner with everyone listed here on the screen, and there are many others. When we look at organizations such as Eli Lilly, DuPont, PPG, Bristol-Myers Squibb, they're willing to give out funds to assist organizations in order to improve various programs, various activities in diversity with an educational improvement and the like. So I'm pleased to be partners with those. The National Science Foundation is one of our primary funders for our ACS Bridge project. Again, partnerships are part of that total ecosystem. Education. We have the opportunity to receive an education, to continue to be lifelong learners. We need to continue taking advantage of that. It's just not about what you did in undergrad, your post-undergrad work, graduate school, and the like. Every day presents a day for us to continue learning, and the more we do that, the more we're going to grow as a human race and as a population. The American Chemical Society specifically thinks about how can we evolve and develop that interest for students in STEM, in chemistry specifically. The ACS Bridge program, we seek to ensure the students are able to matriculate from a BS degree up to and through a PhD degree if that's what they want to do. And through that, we're working with some institutions to make sure there's funding available to help students who want to grow and to get into that PhD program. ACS Project Seed, high school summer experiences. If you know high school students who have that interest in chemistry or in science, we will give them a paid internship, and we have these located around the country. These are just a few opportunities that we do want to make available for students because opportunities are key. And I'm very specific in using the word opportunities, and I'll tell you why as I draw towards the end of my presentation. The professional workforce is a place where we all need to continue building and growing. This speaks to that lifelong learning piece that I mentioned earlier. So we have an ACS Institute. Here there are professional development courses for everyone from all walks of life who can come in, take advantage of professional development courses, take advantage of in honing your skills and being that lifelong learner. Honing in on this campaign for a sustainable future. As we know, everyone is moving to the space where we need to be greener in things that we do. We need to think about our overarching environment. We need to think about greener processes. As you're going through your schooling, as you're working in your professional space, think about what can you do to make things more sustainable. Within the chemistry field, we're really working to help solve our global challenges. And so through our sustainability effort, we plan to do that. And then the last bullet on this slide, fostering a skilled technical workforce. The National Science Board with Dr. McCrary put out a report a few years ago about the importance of the two-year college degree. Everyone does not want to or need to obtain a BS degree, a MS degree, or a PhD to be successful. Students coming out with a two-year college degree are job ready. How do we ensure that the world knows these are viable candidates who are looking for employment and are ready to work? So we're here to change that narrative. We want to make sure that everyone has access to an education at whatever level so suits their needs. Opportunities, not chances. If someone says to you, I'm going to take a chance on you, I would walk away. If someone says, I have an opportunity for you, I would embrace that opportunity. When someone says they have an opportunity, this person, this organization is ready to work with you, to groom you, to help you to grow, to help you to develop, and to provide you with that professional experience that you're looking for. So I encourage you to think about what are the opportunities that are available for you. How did I come from Dinwiddie County to Howard University and then to the American Chemical Society? It was all based on, first, my faith, and then opportunities. It was not based on chance. I feel that I am where I am because of the opportunities that were presented and because this is the plan for my life. So think about what are the key opportunities for you in your life, not the chances, because you don't always want to take a risk. You want to be in a place where you are stable, you are firm, and you are planted in where you want to be. Opportunities, not chances.
That was excellent.
Thank
One more
you.
round of applause. Really beautiful. So I have a question from the audience for
Yes.
you. What role does mentoring, and specifically peer mentoring, play in diversity in our workforce?
Thank you for that question. Mentoring is something that I think has been around for ages, but there have been some areas in mentoring that we can all improve in. It's not your traditional mentor to mentee relationship. Peer mentoring, near mentoring, storytelling, all of that can help individuals to grow. By the fact that you're here today, I know that you're interested in your development as well as the development of others. So we should all take the opportunity to serve as a peer mentor to other individuals. When you're entering into a new workplace, when you're entering into a new class, a new school, a new city, a new culture, think about the peers who are around you. Who can you talk with? Who can you connect with? It's peer mentoring, from my perspective, is going to help us to really diversify the STEM workforce. We need to hear about each other's experiences. We need to hear about how we're welcomed into the place. We need to hear about how our voice is heard, not just having us at the table, but are we heard and are we included and are we respected? So I think peer mentoring allows that to happen. It gives us the opportunity to really hear from others and to hear those stories. But before one chooses to become a peer mentor, I do recommend you being trained in it. There's formal training out there through CIMER, C-I-M-E-R, which is the Center for the Improvement of Mentored Experiences. It's based on research. They can provide training. They can help you to know how to ask the right questions, to receive the right answers, and to also help others that you would like to mentor. Peer mentoring, from my perspective, is the way to get the truth out, to help everyone to know what really is the opportunity and advantages available for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was fascinating. Thank you so much, Ms. Garrison. Now, make sure you download the BEYA app. I can't say this enough. There's so many possibilities. Let us help you keep track of your days. It can all go so fast. And it's really simple. Just visit your app store and search for Career Communications Group. Download the app. It's published by VFairs, and just open it. You can log in using your BEYA badge ID and your email address. All right? And make sure to go to blackengineer.com, too. You can read about our amazing awardees and all the latest BEYA news. All right, are we having a good time so far? Everybody, really? You doing all right? Good, because we've got one more. Our final leading voice for the evening is Dr. Lawrence T. Potter, Jr. Now, he was appointed the University of DC's Chief Academic Officer and Provost in 2019. With over 2 decades in higher education, Dr. Potter has encouraged innovation in scholarship and teaching, launched initiatives to build interdisciplinary strength around global challenges, launched new health sciences programs, and expanded opportunities for experiential learning. He also developed the Center for Intercultural Advancement and Student Success, the Diversity Scholar in Residence, and the Council on Diversity and Equity at Allegheny College. Please welcome Dr. Potter.
Good evening. I'm going to stand because I have an injured ankle, and so I will be brief, but I think it's important. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you for allowing me to be part of a distinguished panel of presenters. As already mentioned, I'm Lawrence Potter Jr., and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the Chief Academic Officer and the Provost at the University of the District of Columbia, the exclusively public urban land-grant historically Black university in, of, and for the nation's capital. I am pleased to share a tech talk this evening titled, HBCUs are National Security Assets. HBCUs are national security assets. The demand for innovation echoes across higher education these days. It has become a buzzword for leaders eager to push their institutions in new directions and has sparked some promising changes. It has become even more animated in college leadership since the era of COVID. Whether you are energized, skeptical, or a bit of both, there's no denying the innovation of this imperative. No denying it. Towards the end of World War II, Vannevar Bush authored The Endless Frontier and delivered it to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, leading to the formation of the National Science Foundation, and thus growing the basic research ecosystems we have in the United States. NSF today is the envy of the world. And while the nation's historically black colleges and universities were not included in the initial discussions of that basic research ecosystem back then, the doors of opportunity opened for Blacks and Latinos for jobs in industry, government, and in academia, focusing on STEM, and especially after the launch of Sputnik by the Soviet Union in 1957. And as the race to the moon continued until the United States put a person on the moon in 1969, Black luminaries such as Walter Lincoln Hawkins, a chemist, Percy LaVon Julian, a chemist, as well as Katherine Johnson, a mathematician, helped in the endeavor for making the United States a technologically superior space. Fast forward to 2023. Last week, because of the balloon incident, we now have a Sputnik 2 moment. The nation needs every bit of talent to stay globally competitive and to ensure our national security. Of the 105 historically black colleges and universities, 11 are classified as Carnegie Doctoral Research II institutions, enrolling over 84,000 students. Although 9% are African Americans who attend the HBCUs, these institutions are extraordinarily productive in churning out top graduates in STEM fields. Let's put this in a different perspective. There are roughly 4,000 institutions of higher learning in the United States, and approximately 340 of those schools have ABET accredited engineering programs. Only 15 of these programs are on the campuses of historically black colleges and universities. Yet these 15 institutions, representing only 4% of engineering schools, produce about 25% of undergraduate engineering degrees awarded to African Americans. These institutions also award 30% of all BS degrees to African Americans in the biological sciences. 30% of the degrees in mathematics, 17% in allied health sciences, 42% in agricultural sciences, and 21% in business management. 11 HBCUs are among the top 15 institutions nationwide in graduating the most African American students earning degrees in the physical sciences. The National Science Foundation released recently a report that found that a third of all African American and engineering doctoral recipients completed their undergraduate degree at an HBCU. While HBCUs are only 3% of the nation's higher education sector, we produce 30% of STEM graduates at the undergraduate level. Many of these students are U.S. citizens, and they can go directly to work for U.S. government and its contracting base, which requires U.S. citizens to obtain security clearances. It's really important. This is an excellent opportunity for HBCU stimulation and STEM programs, as there is a shortage of clearances, and HBCUs have a higher proportion of their students who are eligible for these clearances. That means more research capacity investment in the 11 R2 HBCUs, as well as the 1890 and 1862 land-grant universities and the 15 ABET accredited HBCUs, or as mentioned in the CHIP Science Act, both emerging research and research-intensive HBCUs. These institutions includes the Howards and the UDCs of the world. Let's face it, when it comes to our nation's security, the 188,000 black soldiers who turned the tide of the Civil War towards the Union, we were with the doughboys in World War I, the Tuskegee Airmen never lost a place in World War II, and blacks in the military and civilian ranks, many who were graduates of historically black colleges and universities, made a difference during the Cold War. With that said, if you are ready for our nation to take the next steps in forging partnerships in this new frontier, then join me and my peers who are leaders on campuses of historically black colleges and universities to begin to have conversations and dialogues that build on Vannevar Bush's legacy for over the next 50 years. This dialogue moves our nation to the planet to the planet from a conversation where our priorities are not solely about the accumulation of wealth, but to the conversation leading us to a place where participants in the innovation era will represent all of America's talent. HBCUs are a national security asset, and we stand ready to turn out the innovations and students for the next challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parter. We appreciate that. We have this question from the audience, and particularly I think many of this comes from the VPRs at the HBCUs. In this century where we're facing many, many challenges, and you talk about national security, in our STEM ecosystem, what is it that we need to do in our HBCUs, from your point as the Chief Academic Officer, to encourage research and to encourage many of our funders, for people from ARPA-H, AFOSR, and others, that HBCUs not only produce out students for the workforce, but also are the key places for innovation that will help us restore our place in terms of global competition?
Wow. Depthness. And so let me start out by saying that I think historically black colleges absolutely have to do what Dr. Moore has said. You can't get a grant if you don't apply for it. And the realities is that on the campuses of HBCUs, we as leaders, provost presidents, deans, department chairs, vice presidents for research, we have to construct and build the infrastructure for faculty to be successful, to go after the grants and the contracts so that their students can be on the ground, hands-on, in the laboratories, in the collaboratories, in the communities, doing the things that we absolutely believe and articulate we want them to do. And so I think that industry, I think that the National Science Foundation, I think that government all have to look at HBCUs as assets. And it's not just about contributing the grant dollars, it's really about helping to build the infrastructure such that faculty understand pre-award, post-award, such that students fully understand the opportunities, and more importantly, such that HBCUs and the students at these institutions are competitive.
So well done.
Wow.
I mean,
Oh, wow.
what an incredible evening, right?
Yeah, wow.
I mean, we've heard some powerful stories, every last one of them, statistics, strategies from some of the brightest minds and leaders in STEM.
So thank you again to all of our Tech Talk speakers. Let's give them a round.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
But also, let's face it, with all this great help, let's give a hand not only to all of the tech people here who made it happen, okay? Because they've made it happen.
Yes.
The producers and directors. And of course, you got to pay them. So let's thanks to our conference sponsors,
Yes, for the
Accredited, Jacobs,
sponsors.
and Raytheon Technologies.
Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we hope you all enjoyed this talk this evening and look forward to seeing you throughout the rest of the 37th BEYA STEM Conference this weekend as we walk together to begin and become everything you are. I love that. Becoming everything you are. Thank you all. We'll see you at the next best thing, and good night. See you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raytheon.
It's great being here with you.